What's up everyone, Jun with the Sushi Man, and in this video I'll show you how to make traditional spam musubi, and also my personal recipe on making them. It's easy, inexpensive, and delicious. Not to mention, kids love them. And if you stick to the end, I'll share with you an even better way to make these for those little ones. Alright, now let's get right into it. So for those that don't know what spam musubis are, they're basically an evolved form of a traditional Japanese rice ball called onigiri, or omusubi, hence the name. Onigiris are usually shaped in a triangle and they have some sort of filling like umeboshi, mentaiko, or salmon. And then it's wrapped with nori, which is dried seaweed. Spam musubis are very similar but in a rectangular shape to match the shape of the spam, which comes in a rectangular can. Makes sense, right? Now, there are a bunch of variations and extra ingredients you can add to it, but originally, there's just 3 ingredients: rice, seasoned spam, and nori. That's it. And no, it's regular rice. We don't use vinegared sushi rice, so spam musubis are not sushi. I know some people get it confused. Now, I'm not going to get into all the history behind spam musubis, but it did originate in Hawaii, where spam was and still is a big part of their cuisine. I like to think of them as Japanese onigiri with some Hawaiian flavor. Alright, enough of that. Let's get into our tools and supplies. So we're going to need a cutting board, a sharp knife, I have my gyuto here, a couple small bowls, and measuring spoons for the sauces, a small to medium non-stick frying pan or skillet, a pair of chopsticks or tongs, a couple of spoons, a medium to large bowl, and a spam musubi mold. And you can get these off of Amazon for like $7-8. Does make things easier, but don't worry if you don't have one. Honestly, I got this pretty recently and I've been making musubis for years, just by hand. And you can also use the spam can itself as a mold. I'll show you how when we get into that part. We're also going to need some plastic wrap, a clean kitchen towel as always, and then a serving plate. And that's about it. Now, I didn't list any other things we need to cook the rice since I have another video that goes over that. But I'll explain that more in this next section, which is ingredients. So we're obviously going to need some rice. Now, if you own a rice cooker, then you probably already know how to cook rice. But if you don't, check out my how to make sushi rice video with the link over here. But remember, we are not making it into sushi rice. So skip all the sushi vinegar parts because you won't need that. Okay, next we need the spam, of course. I like to use the 25% low sodium one since spam itself is pretty high in sodium, and plus we're seasoning it so. And we'll use the whole can for the amount of rice we have, but you can always cut the portion in half if you like. Of course, cook half the amount of rice if that's the case. And then we have our nori, which again is dried seaweed, and these are half sheets. Now it's totally fine to just use those 3 ingredients, but I usually like to add some furikake, which is Japanese rice seasoning. This one's just a simple ajinori furikake, which you can find at most Asian markets. And then for the sauce to season our spam. I recommend using the teriyaki and unagi sauce that I teach you in this video over here. But if you want to keep it even more simple, just mix these 3 ingredients: soy sauce, mirin, and sugar. Just mix it up until the sugar fully dissolves. And that is all you need to make traditional spam musubis. However, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, my personal recipe is a tad bit different, or should I say it adds one more thing, which is another sauce that I like to put in between the rice and spam, just to give it a little more of that savory and umami flavor. So to make this sauce, we just need a couple more ingredients, which are miso and sesame oil. I just add these 2 along with some soy sauce and mix it till it's nice and smooth. This is my special musubi sauce that's simple but adds more depth to the overall flavor. It's totally optional, but I definitely recommend you trying it out. Alright, now let's move on to cooking our spam. So first, let's open this up. Now to get it out of the can, hold the sides right here and then smack it onto your cutting board once or twice. Now we're going to slice this up, and I like to cut about 9 to 10 slices per container. But if you like a lot of that spam meat in your musubi, then you could cut it into thicker slices like 7 or 8. The reason why I cut it a little thinner though is because 1, spam is pretty high in fat. I mean, it's processed meat no matter what. And my kid can devour like 2 musubis easily, so I try to minimize that fat intake. But second, that special musubi sauce that I showed you gives it that extra flavor, so it balances out that rice to spam ratio without having to add more spam, if that makes sense at all. And you could cut it into different thicknesses and see what you like best. Just note though that the amount of rice you need might change depending on how many slices you cut from one can. But hey, you can always save cooked rice in the fridge and use it later. Alright, so we're going to lay this down on its side, and I'm going to start from the right side here, and try to keep every cut nice and straight so that each piece is even throughout. Okay, now let's start heating up our pan over medium heat. Alright, the pan has been heating up for about a minute, so now we're going to lay the spam slices down. And there's no need to put any oil, the fat from the spam will be enough. Unless you're using non-stick frying pan, then you might want to add a little bit of oil before putting the spam down. Now we're going to cook this for about 3 to 4 minutes until it's lightly brown, and then we'll flip it over. And I like to move it around once in a while to make sure it's not burning or sticking to the pan. Alright, it's been about 3 minutes, so I'm going to start flipping these guys over. And look at that nice crispy outer layer. That's what you want. And now we'll let this cook for another minute or two. Okay, from here we're going to turn down the heat to about medium-low to low. And then we're going to spoon teriyaki sauce over each piece. And you don't need too much, we're just adding a little flavor and glaze to our spam. And then we'll flip each piece over and cook it some more. Also, it's good to have a plate ready for when we take off the spam. Depending on how hot the pan is still, you might have to work pretty fast so that the spam doesn't brown too much. I like to use a small plate with a paper towel to absorb that extra grease. Now we'll start flipping these over. Okay, and now we'll let it kind of sit in that sauce. And if you need to add more, you can, but you don't need too much. Alright, these look good now, so let's take them off. And there you go. Now let's move on to assembling our musubis. So now we have all the ingredients to make our musubis, but I just have one more step here before we move on, which is optional though, so it's up to you if you want to do this. So most spam musubis you'll see will have the rice, and then the furikake, and then the spam. So each has kind of its own layer. What I prefer doing though is mixing the furikake into the rice before assembling. That way you get a more even distribution of the furikake in each bite. But either way is totally fine and they both taste great. And don't worry, I'll show you how to make both ways. So that said, we'll just take some rice and sprinkle on some of our furikake in there. And I'm using my shamoji to mix it here, but you can easily use a spoon or a spatula. And you want to mix it so that the furikake is evenly distributed throughout the rice. Add some more if you need. And there we go. Now we can start assembling. Alright, so first I'll show you the most traditional and common version. So we'll start with the mold, and then we'll lay a sheet of plastic over it. And make sure the plastic is big enough so we can wrap the musubi from the top. And then we add our plain white rice into it. And how much rice you put in here is totally up to you, but typically with these molds you want to fill it to about 3/4 of the way. And you want to make sure the rice is stuffed all the way to the edges, but you don't have to push too hard here, just make sure it's nice and even. And now sprinkle some furikake on top of the rice. Then we lay a slice of spam. Now wrap the top with the plastic. And then we use the press. Just fit it in and we push down with some decent pressure. But don't get all WWE now, we just need the musubi to hold its shape. Not making spam mochi here. And then you simply take this out and we're done. Perfectly shaped spam musubi. And I don't like to wrap this in nori and I'm ready to eat it. Just like temaki or gunkanmaki in sushi, it tastes best when the seaweed is still fresh and crispy. At least personally for me. So I leave it in the plastic until it's ready to be served. Alright, now on to my version. So same thing, we'll put a sheet of plastic in the mold. But this time we're going to use the furikake rice. And then from here we brush on or spoon some of that special musubi sauce onto the rice. Then the spam goes right on top. Wrap up the plastic. Push down with the mold. And there you have it. Just some slight tweaks to the original one, but again, both ways are really good, and you can't go wrong with either. So try them out for yourself and see which one you like. Now, as you saw, this musubi mold makes it super easy, but let me show you how to use a spam can to do the same thing. So obviously you want to have this can washed, and then it's pretty much the same steps. And you might have to use a little extra plastic because the can is deeper than the mold. And just a fair warning, it's not as bad as some open cans, but be very careful with this outer edge here if you're using it. Now we'll add the rice. And you kind of want to press it down with the shamoji or spoon. And then I'm going to add a little bit of that miso sauce here. And then in goes the spam. Wrap the plastic. Now from here, since we don't have the press, you just want to use your fingers to press down on it. And then we just take it out by pulling on the plastic. And there you go. Not as pretty as the mold, but still works, right? Yeah, easy stuff. Alright, now all we have to do is wrap these in our nori and then we can eat it. So let me show you how to wrap it really quick. Now honestly, you could just do this on your hand, but either way, make sure the surface is fully dry and clean. Now we take one sheet of nori and make sure the rough side is facing up. And then put the musubi on one end with the spam on top. Then just tightly roll the seaweed around the musubi like this. And that's a wrap. Ha, I gotta stop with these corny jokes. Anyways, be sure to eat it right away if you want the seaweed to be crispy. Alright, that's about it on how to make spam musubis, but I did promise to show you another way to make these even better for young kids, and it's really simple. Let me show you how. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take some nori and cut them into strips crosswise. We call this obi in the sushi industry, which means belt. And it doesn't matter how wide really, maybe about a 3/4 inch or so. And then let's take one slice of spam and we'll cut this into 4 even parts like this. Now from here, we're basically going to make some mini spam nigiris. So first we want to wet our hands lightly, and then grab a ball of rice about the size of a tater tot. And then if you know how to make nigiri sushi, then just do that, but you don't need to get all technical here. Just shape it into a small log, and however you do it is fine. And now, all you do from here is grab one of the strips of nori and place a piece of spam on the rice. And then just wrap the seaweed around to hold it in place. And there you go, your cute, tiny little mini spam musubi. And my son loves these just as much as chomping into a regular size one, especially when he was a little younger because it makes it easier to eat. Alright, good job on making it this far, and this is just a basic foundational way of making spam musubis. You can always add things to it or use different types of protein like hot dogs, ham, Portuguese sausage is really good. I mean, you could get so creative with it. Eggs are a good addition as well. So try this out first and then start playing around with different ingredients. And if you find my videos helpful and want to learn more about sushi and Japanese cooking, then don't forget to check out my book, How to Make Sushi at Home, a fundamental guide for beginners and beyond. It's packed with tons of sushi knowledge, recipes, tips, and so much more. I'll have links in the description below for those that are interested. Alright, that's it from me. As always, feel free to leave me any questions in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. I'll see you on the next one. ありがとうございます。